Good morning, everyone. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. As directed by Manitoba Health, we're requesting people avoid close contact within 2 meters. With anyone showing symptoms of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing, if you're experiencing flu-like symptoms, we're requesting that you excuse yourself from the room. I would like to introduce the panel this morning. To my immediate left is Lynn Nesbitt, and to her left is Harvey Diamond. My name is Brent McIntyre, and I'll be chairing the meeting this morning. Our secretary today is Kara Balshaw, and our assessor is Victoria Ho. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to the application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I'll confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the Board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Use of cell phones is not permitted except by the approval of the chair. Thank you. The item on the docket that we'll be hearing first is 1749 Ellis Avenue, Unit G. And Victoria, you can proceed.
I'll just do the swearing in first.
Sorry.
And while you were doing your opening remark, Mr. Chair, the first applicant joined, so just as an FYI.
Did he hear the opening?
Most of it, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So, Madam Assessor, for the record, please state your name.
Victoria Ho.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And sorry, Mr. Applicant, for the record, please state your name.
Very well, Framer.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Victoria, you can proceed.
Thank you. File number 20-860. We are looking at address 1749 Ellis Avenue, Unit G, business assessment ID 55204. Business operating is Standard Arrow. We're looking at the total annual rental value of $257,460. Total area of all premises is 16,662 square feet, with an overall ARV of $15.45 per square feet. We have 2 premises, 1749 Ellis Avenue D, with a premise area of 5,063 square feet, with a base ARV of 65,819, using a base ARV per square feet of $13 a square foot. We have heat at a rate of 60 cents, electricity at $1.26, water at $1.25, air conditioning operating rate at 34 cents. for a total occupancy cost of $2.45 per square feet. Total occupancy cost for this premise is $12,404. The annual rental value for this premise would be $78,240. The next premise, 1749 Ellis Avenue G, is 11,599 square feet. A base ARV of 150,787. Using a base ARV of $13. Total occupancy cost is $28,418, with the total annual with an annual rental value of $179,220, for a full total of an annual rental value of $257,460. Just to note that there was a realty appeal, and the base ARV was applied and was flowed through from a realty appeal. I do have some rent comparables for you today, all ranging, all from the nearby area, all ranging between 4,000 to 27,500 square feet, ranging between $11 to $23.50 a square foot. I believe the best comparable would be the third comparable. The address is 1747 Ellis Avenue, which is located on the same property. The lease start on March 2017, so it's probably our most recent lease at a lease rate of $12.71. I also supplemented other leases from the same property that are also asking for just a supplement, that they were also asking for around a similar leasing rate. So based on the information provided, it is my recommendation to maintain the business assessment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Gary?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so Ms. Ho, now the first, there's two premises shown. It's all assessed under this roll number, but the 5,063 square feet, that's a mezzanine, correct?
From my indication, we have no indication that it is a mezzanine.
Oh, you don't?
We checked the from the realty board, from the realty appeal, and from the Pioneers, there were no indication that this was a mezzanine.
Okay, that's going to be that's good to know. So the last three premise, 1747 Ellis, 1745 Unit A9, and the last one, those, as you mentioned, all three of those are within the subject property, which is a multi-tenant sort of retail industrial office complex, correct?
Correct.
And our premise, so the best comp, and I would be inclined to agree to a certain extent that the comparable closest to the valuation, or a reference date, I should say, is your third comparable in the subject. But that comparable is roughly, I'll put it this way, the subject is roughly 2.5 times larger than that comparable. We can agree on that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn?
Can you explain to me, Ms. Ho, what are the two different premises? What do your records say?
They're both retail office space, retail space at this moment. They're just adjoining units.
Okay, and does Standard Arrow occupy those spaces?
Correct.
And they're also the owner?
Of the business, not the realty location.
You're not the owner of the realty, no? Okay. Did you, okay, you mentioned that $13 was applied at the realty appeal?
Correct.
And Did you happen to review the INE expense or the information submitted?
Yes,
And what did it report there?
$13 a square foot.
Pardon me?
$13 a square foot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Harvey?
Yes, Ms. Ho, looking at your comparables, you indicated that you thought number 3 is the best comparable. But I noticed, and Mr. Reimer seems to indicate too, it's the subject property is much larger and wouldn't it be more closely akin to your comparable number 5 in size? Which is also right next door, it looks like, for the address.
Yes, but the lease is also a little bit older too.
I'm sorry?
The lease is also older too.
Okay, and how does it compare with, okay, that's great. But it is a much larger property, so there would be some economy of scale on the rental. Yeah. And that would say the same towards such a property, even much larger.
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah, and that would also say the same of the subject property being much larger. The overall per square foot rental might be somewhat lower.
It may or may not. It really depends on the negotiation. It may or may not. Typically, usually I have seen larger leases. They have been renting a little less, but however, given that how close the comparable three had how close comparable 3 is to our base ARV per square feet for the subject, I can't place a recommendation to lower the assessment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I have no questions. Carrie, you can proceed.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. If I could ask Ms. Ho and the members of the board then to turn to our materials, our brief that was submitted in support of our application this morning. So if I could ask the parties to look at page 2. So this is a quick exterior shot of the subject property. It's obviously a very large complex with many, many units in it. Our request this morning, Mr. Chairman, is to reduce the annual rental value from $257,460 to $224,100. And that is for the reasons we'll discuss shortly, or I'll discuss shortly. It's based on a rate of $11 a square foot rather than the $13. So if we move briefly, please, to, and I'm going to quote the page references from my Adobe file. It would be page 4 of the Adobe file, which is page 3, numbered page 3 of the brief. At the top, it says premise description. So this is an office warehouse unit within a larger complex at 1725 Ellis. This is, of course, known as Leon Center. Now, here's an interesting, I'd ask Ms. Ho about the 5,000 square feet and the mezzanine area. I am going to suggest, Mr. Chairman, disregard the reference to the mezzanine. I had a very clear understanding of that. And while Ms. Ho was making a presentation, I looked back in the correspondence with our client. And while the implication is there about the mezzanine, it took me a little off guard. And I'm going to assume for the purposes of the hearing this morning that actually is main floor space. So it is, the total size is not in any way disputed. It's 16,662 square feet. I'm going to treat it all as main floor space. I had valued it all at the same rate in any event, so it's not going to change my recommendation. And I'll go with that description being all main floor space at this stage. What I do know is the majority of the unit is on office, but there is a storage area of 934 square feet. So that represents just under 10% of the main floor area that's used for storage. So if I could ask the board members then to turn to the next page. The question was asked, well, a couple of comments. That Ms. Ho had mentioned the fact that the realty appeal had used $13. I can't comment on that. I certainly was not a party to the realty appeal, and based on my review of the information that we've got this morning, and also even with respect to the information submitted by Ms. Ho, I continue to believe that the $13 rate for the subject premise is too high. And the question had also been asked about who's in this premise and if they were the owner. This is standard error. They're not the owner, but they only moved in well after the reference date. So there was no lease information for the subject unit, to be clear. as of the reference date that I'm aware of. It certainly was not lease information that that would have been relating to the subject premise and my client, because they moved in, as I say, well after the reference date. So we then defaulted at the top of the Adobe file number, page 5. There's our comparables that we're suggesting to the board this morning as valid indicators for the rental value for the subject. The what I can tell you is the comparables that are, there's the very first comparable on Barrie is the use code is a industrial warehouse, but I can tell you that it has a high degree of office finish. The remaining properties are mixtures of retail neighborhood shopping centers, one office, suburban office, and one retail warehouse, and they're all located in the immediate area. The best comparables I'm going to suggest, 13, or sorry, I should say index number 3, which is Border Street. That's 100% office, and that was leased at a rate $11 per square foot. And the comparables 5, 7, 8, and 9, they're just a couple of blocks east of the subject at a very, very similar type of property. And those lease rates range from 7.25 up to 10.25 for premises that typically were very similar in size to the subject. In the case of index number 7, it is substantially larger. So that one, for that very reason, and Mr. Diamond alluded to this, because of the economies of scale, I would agree that there would have to be an uptick to adjustment to that rate to reflect a larger size. But certainly the other 3 are very, very similar in size, and they range from 7.25 up to 10.25. So based upon those lease comparables that we've listed there, it's got an average of 10.23, a median of 10.25. And based upon that, and again, please disregard the reference to the mezzanine space, we are suggesting a rate of $11 per square foot. So then turning to page 6, if one applies the $11 rate to the subject premise and the occupancy costs, which are not in dispute, then the revised value, annual rental value would be $224,100. And then if we, just for the board's reference, if we go to page 8 of the Adobe file, pages 8 through 10 are photos of the lease comparables. And again, I had alluded to the comparable on Ellis Avenue, and that's the photo of that is located at page 10, and that's likely the most comparable property for the lease comparables. But I've listed them all there, and they're very, very similar for the most part to the subject. I do also note, and I'm going to suggest that the rate I'm suggesting certainly is, and I didn't have the benefit, as I mentioned, we weren't involved in the realty assessment review, so I didn't have the benefit of reviewing the entire I&E or rent roll for this property. But I'm going to suggest that certainly the department's submission showing the 3 rents within the subject property are entirely consistent with a conclusion that the rate should be $11 based on the size, which is the much larger size of the subject. I would agree with Ms. Ho that the lease comp 5 that the department submitted is significantly larger, but when one looks at that one and the next 2 that are much, much smaller in that range, then I think the $11 still stands to reason. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Victoria, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Lynn?
I have no questions.
Harvey?
I have no questions.
And I have no questions, so that concludes this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have a good day.
You too.
Morning, Mr. Keats.
Hi there, you can hear me?
We can hear you. So just before we begin on these matters, I'll affirm your testimony. For the record, please state your name.
Kenneth Donald Keats.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And Mr. Keats, could you just confirm that you heard the preamble?
I did, thank you.
Did, thank you. Okay, the next item on the docket is 1585 Kenniston Boulevard, Unit J4. And Victoria, you can proceed.
Thank you. File number 20-642. We are looking at address 1585 Keniston Boulevard, Unit J4. Business assessment ID is 55563. Business operating as Spirit Halloween. We have the total annual rental value of $196,620. Total area of all premises at 8,019 square feet. Overall ARV per square feet is $24.51. We have the base ARV at 176,979 as the base ARV. The base ARV per square feet, we're looking at $22.07. The total occupancy cost is $2.45. That's including heat, electricity, water, and air conditioning. The total occupancy cost is $19,647 for a total annual rental value of $196,620. Note that this is a short-term lease, so the subject lease information was not generated on the system, but we have information provided by the business owner on the next page. So I have some annualizing calculations provided. So the business owner disclosed that he paid $30,000 for 65 days. So that is $461.54 per day. Now, if you annualize that for an entire year, we have the base annual ARV without occupancy costs at $168,461.54. And if you calculate it on a per square feet, it'll be $21.01. Again, base ARV per square feet before occupancy costs. Given how close we are with the annualized calculation of the information disclosed by the business owner and our base ARV of $22.07, it appears quite reasonable. I do have rent comparables in the final table on the first page. I have 5 comparables for you today. I believe the first comparable is the best. All these leases are within the same area. The leasable areas are between 4,000 to 9,000 square feet, between $19 and $30 a square foot. Again, the reason I think that the comparable one is best is because it's on the same property. It is also just before the reference date, and its reported rent is $22 a square foot. Based on the information that I provided, it is my recommendation not to maintain the assessment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Keats, any questions of the assessor?
So not to maintain the assessment?
I think she said to maintain
the assessment.
Okay, so so I'm going to get the board to refer to my exhibit.
So do you have any, first of all, do you have any questions of the assessor?
Yes, the number of days that we were selling was 60 days. And if you refer to exhibit number
Okay, we'll get to your evidence after.
Okay. No, I have no questions.
Thank you. Lynn, any questions?
No questions.
Harvey?
I have no question.
And I have no questions. Okay, Mr. Keats, it's your turn.
Okay, like I say, if you refer to exhibit 3, we were assessed for 119 days. We started selling on the 4th of September. And of course, Halloween is the 31st. We stopped selling on the 2nd of November. So that was only for 60 selling days. We were assessed at 119. Exhibit 1 is the site plan of roll number 55563. So after 11 years of retailing Halloween in Winnipeg, on the 23rd of October, which happens to be obviously a week in front of Halloween, we get exhibit number 2, notice of change in rental value for $196,620 on a 2-month lease. Exhibit 3 we talked about, we got assessed for 122 days when we were only operating for 60 days. And then we've got exhibit 4, which shows an adjustment on the business taxes too. I'm confused why this came through on the 4th of November. The initial assessment was $3,094.13, exhibit 4. And then on December 5, we get an amended business tax notice that goes from $3,094 to basically split it in half to $1,508, and then a copy of my paid taxes that went through on the 13th of or 12th of December. Exhibit 6 is my lease with Callaway REIT, which Smart Centers contracts to run this property, showing a lease of $30,000 for the 2 months. And exhibit 7, which again confused me, is a 2021 business assessment notice when all concerned knew that we were vacating the property after Halloween ended. So I'm not sure how the board wants us to deal with this. There's the three situations. Each one are relatively unique. And I guess, Madam Assessor, if I were to use common sense, if we're only leasing for 2 months of the year based on the ARV of $196,620, that's $16,385 a month times 2 months is $32,770. Why would we be paying business tax when it's below the threshold of $37,500
Okay.
on a space we're only using for 60 days?
Okay. So according to the city assessment, according to the city Winnipeg Charter, Part 8, we have to assess all businesses based off of the annual rental value, and we're just theoretically assuming that you're leasing that space for an entire year. However, when you're taxed, you are prorated for just only for the 60 days. That's why you're paying the $1,500. The reason, it's just how how we issue notices. Normally, most businesses are leasing at a longer term. So we issue the notices based off of your license when you lease in. So in this case, as an example, September 1st, 2020, and then until we know when you vacated, then we issue another supplementary assessment notice vacating you out, effective for November 1st, 2020. Then that's why there's a credit back or to the account, and that's why you're, instead of paying $3,000 for from September all the way to the end of December, you're paying between September to November.
I'm confused because we're below the threshold of the 37.5 that's exempt. So I think it's and I'm getting into my summary, it's an unfair way of taxing temporary tenants because we're below the threshold. I'm all about paying taxes, but I'm paying taxes on a fair basis, and this is not fair. The first time in 11 years we've been taxed on these Halloween stores in the middle of a global pandemic, and it's mind-numbing to me.
We typically license business in as soon as we receive a occupancy permit. Most businesses, like I said, are in for a longer term, and when we receive the occupancy permit, we do our best to enter the businesses as quickly as possible. Some businesses do fall off the roll before we're able to license them in, and then in your case, usually we may have not been able to license you in as quickly and then vacate. But we were aware of your operations this past year that we licensed you in and then vacated you out accordingly.
After 11 years. Okay. Okay, well, let's move on to the second one, which is a similar scenario, if that's all right.
We may have some questions. Lynn, any questions?
I was also just following along with the information you submitted. And I do see that your tax bill does reflect 2 months' taxes. Do you see that on your bill as well? That would be your Exhibit 5. I think I'm correct in saying that. The original bill per Exhibit 4 was $3,094, and that reflected September 4th to December 31st, and then a credit back for half of that. Am I reading your information correctly, Mr. Keats? Or?
Yeah, no, that's right. It did go down half. So we did contemplate the number of days from 119 to 59, basically.
Which reflects your lease and your occupancy period during there, right?
Right.
Okay, then I have no questions. Thank you.
Harvey?
I have no questions. Thank you.
And I have no questions. So let's proceed to item number 5, which is 947 St. James Street.
Okay. This is roll number, or the Madam Assessor is going to start, I guess?
Yes, I just have to bring it up. Okay, Victoria, you can proceed.
Okay. File number 20-641. Address is 947 St. James Street. Business assessment ID is 55565. Business operating as Spirit Halloween. So, total annual rental value is $388,320. Total area of all premises 28,937 square feet. Overall ARV per square feet is $13.42. We are looking at in the next table. You can see the breakdown of the ARVs the ARV. The base ARV is $317,439, which is a base ARV per square feet of $10.97 per square feet. Total occupancy cost is $70,896 for a total annual rental value of $388,320. Again, this is a short-term lease, so system did not generate the lease information. However, on the next page, I have some annualizing calculations based off of the information provided by the business owner. We're looking at $50,000 for 65 days, which is $769.23 per day. Now, if you annualize that as if he was occupied for an entire year, it'd be $280,769.23. This is will be the base ARV without the occupancy cost. If you divide by the area of the leasable area, which would be $9.70 per square feet. This would be the base ARV without occupancy cost per square foot. If you go back to the first page, I have on the last table, I have some rent comparables. They are all leases within the area, leasable areas between 5,000 to 30,000 square feet, and the reported rents between $10 and $14.53 per square feet. Just say the last three comparables are on the same subject property, same commercial property that's been rented. And I would like to comment that I believe that the first comparable at 1000 St. James Street would be our best comparable, since it is closest to the reference date and closest in reported area size. Based off the information that I provided today, I would recommend no change in the assessment value. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Keats, any questions?
Yes, this is if you refer to Exhibit 1, it's St. James.
Oh, this is questions of what Victoria presented?
No questions, sorry.
No questions? Wynn?
No questions.
Harvey?
No question.
And I have no questions. So Mr. Keats, you can proceed.
This is Exhibit 1 is the site plan of St. James Square, corner of St. James and St. Matthews. Former Staples spot that we've occupied. This is our third year. Of the 28,000 square feet, we only retail out of 12,000 and only use 12,000. So I think the assessment at 388, 320 is grossly overstated because we are not utilizing this. Again, it's the nature of temporary retail. If you can imagine the old Staples store, that's what we use. And there's still another 12,000 square feet of warehouse on the other side. And then Exhibit 2 through 5 just shows the different amending formulas from the 23rd of October to the 4th of November to the 4th of December. And then our lease with Shelter Corporation showing that we paid basically $52,000 for the Halloween season for September, October. And then Exhibit 8 is the 2021 business assessment, which I say we're closed, and obviously we're going to be getting assessed the same amount next year. So this one is a little more unique, and I'm contending that we only use 12,000 square feet of the 28,000. So I'd like the number to be revisited.
Thank you. Victoria, any questions or comments with regard to the size?
On your page 6, your temporary lease agreement on the first under the first header, I guess, first point. Can you make it? It says, firstly, an area approximate of 2,000 square feet in a location designated by the landlord in a portion of 28,937 square feet building area. Does that mean that you're only? You said that you were only occupying 12,000 square feet, or are you only occupying 2,000 square feet?
Occupying 12,000.
Okay, I was not made aware that you were occupying only 12,000 square feet. I was only aware that you were occupying the space, the premise space of the Staples location, and that's how the unit was set up, and that's how our system is set up. That we have the premises allocated for, and it usually doesn't change, as it usually gets occupied fully. I would take it under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn, any questions?
Yeah, I also have a question about the square footage. So I'm reading in point 1, an area of approximately 12 or 2,000 square feet in a portion of the 28,937 square foot, referred to as storage space. So you lease that 2,000 square foot storage space. Then it goes on to say, secondly, an area of 28,937 square feet. So do you lease the whole? You lease the whole piece, right? You're saying you lease it all, but you only use 12?
Yeah, it's logistics of, the security of the space. It's when Staples was there, that was their warehouse storage. But
Okay.
our store is only 12,000 square feet. And within that, we use 2,000 of storage.
So that means,
But we do have access to that site, but our store is only the 12,000 square feet. So if we're talking about business, we're conducting business in 12,000 square feet.
okay. So 2,000 of which is storage.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, that's all my questions.
Harvey?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
I just have one getting back to this 28,000 square feet on the lease. Are you paying utility costs for that whole area?
No, we're not. We just pay the gross rent, 52,000.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. So that concludes this item, and we'll proceed to the last item. 1115 Aaron Avenue, Unit 10, sorry.
File number 20-640, address 1150 Narren Avenue, Unit 10. Business assessment ID is 55564. Business operating as Spirit Halloween. We have the total annual rental value of $233,460. Total area of all premises is 20,391 square feet. Overall ARV per square feet is $11.45. If you see the next table, we have the breakdown of the ARV. The base ARV is 183,519, with a base ARV per square feet of $9. Occupancy costs for heat, electricity, water, and air conditioning, it totals to $2.45 for a total occupancy cost of $49,958 for a total annual rental value of $233,460. Again, this is a short-term lease. Annualizing calculations are on the next page, based off of the information that was disclosed by the owner. So we have $30,000 paid for 65 days, which is $461.54 per day. If we annualize the cost, it would be $168,461.54. This is again the base ARV without occupancy cost. If we divide by the square footage of the leasable space, it would be $8.26 per square feet before occupancy costs. Again, if we go back to the first page, I have my last table has my rent comparables. The last three comparables are located, are all leases on the same commercial property. And my rent comparables are all located in the same area. Leases range between 5,000 to 40,000 square feet, and reported rents ranging between $8.75 to $18 per square feet. I believe my best comparable would be 838 Regent Avenue West. as is closest to the reference date, and the reported area is quite close at 18,597 square feet, with a reported rent of $9.75. Based on the information I provided today, I would recommend that we maintain the business assessment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Keats, any questions?
No.
Lynn, any questions?
I have no questions.
Harvey?
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions. Mr. Keats, you can proceed with yours. Submission.
Okay, so this is roll 55564, Unit 10, 1150 Narren Avenue. Former site of excess cargo, which vacated in 2014. So this space has been vacant for 6 years. The site plan is Exhibit 1. Again, after 11 years, we get a notice of change in render value on the 23rd of October, saying the ARV is $233,460. The initial assessment is $3,766.49 on the 23rd of October. On the 4th of November, it went up to $4,106.09. On the 4th of December, it went down to $2,222.85. And there's a receipt of the payment going through on the 14th of December. Exhibit 6 is the lease showing that we're paying $30,000. And Exhibit 7 is the 2021 business assessment notice for the ensuing year on a space that is vacant. This roll number is similar to the one on St. James Street, where it's a 20,000 square foot piece of real estate that we only occupy 12,000 square feet. And yes, the ARV is highly inflated given the current market situation, and testimony to that is the 5 or 6 years that it's been vacant. And I did note in some of the fine print about the border revision assessment, April 1st of 2018 is the last assessment date. So I would question the $233,460 ARV associated with this property. But my main contention is, yes, we were only occupying 12,000 square feet, and our ARV is 30,000, and it should be exempt from taxes. And that's it.
Victoria, did you want to respond to the reference date?
Yeah, I would like to ask about your Exhibit 6. I can't really see the lease too much, but it says the lease premise is shown and outlined in red. Approximate location attached here to containing approximately 20,391 square feet. Do you have entire access of the 20,391 square feet?
If you refer to Exhibit 1, that'll show you the 20,391 square feet. Shows the site plan of 1150 Narren.
Okay.
It's a huge space, again, that we only occupy almost less than half of.
Okay. And utilities, were you paying utilities for this site?
No, they're included.
Okay. Thank you. No questions.
Thank you. Lynn, any questions?
Yeah, just a question about utilities. In your lease on item 6, it does say tenant shall pay for its own electricity, power, water, heat.
Oh, yeah, you know what, I do apologize on that. That one we did get assessed, or we did pay the utilities.
So you are responsible for
Yes,
utilities.
yes, and
Not part of your,
I did not put them in with my presentation. I apologize for that.
okay, and again, of the 20,000 square feet, you're occupying 12.
Correct.
May I ask a question of Ms. Ho?
Certainly.
Ms. Ho, in a case, what is the assessment department's practice when a business owner rents or has access to a larger space but only uses a portion of it? Like, I'm not kind of understanding, there's a difference in this case of about 8,000 square feet. Is the assessment on the 20 or on the 12? If they have access to the 20 but only using 12, I'm not quite sure of your practice.
So from my understanding, I believe that he has full access to the 20,000 square feet. Therefore, although he's operating at 12,000, he does have the use of the 20,000 square feet. In this case, I would probably.
So in this case, it would be the practice of the assessment department to assess based on the larger property because of that access to the larger property. Am I correct in saying that, or am I?
I typically would do a further review just to find out more of the case of the case of his lease. In this case, I probably would assess him fully at the 20,000 square feet because he did not disclose that he was only using 12,000 earlier, and he wasn't saying that he was only supposed to be using the 12,000 square feet and it's being retrofitted specifically for his use. Honestly, I'm not too sure. I'm not 100% of my answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for attempting an answer. Okay, thanks.
Thank
That's
you.
all my questions.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes, so if you indicate you only use part of the space, but if you use the whole space, you'd have to pay more rent. In fact, if in other words, if you use part of it that you were saying you weren't going to use, you use it for storage or something else, would your rent have gone up?
No, it wouldn't.
Thank you.
I just have one question related to the space. Was there any dividing wall between the 12,000 you were using and the rest of that premise?
Yeah, it's a pegboard merchandising wall that defines the back room of the location.
And that's something you put up, not the landlord?
Yes, we put it up. It's totally a temporary fence, if you will, for layman's term, but it's a pegboard that we fixture and merchandise off of.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question.
I ask a question of my counterpart from the city.
Certainly.
I'm gonna ask her when I had a forum, an opportunity to express what we were not using in that space. I mean, we got this notice October 23rd. There was no dialogue with me prior or when we applied for our occupancy permit. So I'm a little surprised that I should have expressed it to somebody of what we were using within the space. I mean, the first communication we got was an October 23rd, 2020 assessment notice. Like I say, after 11 years, that was the first dialogue we had about business taxes that associated with our Spirit Halloween stores.
Okay. So typically, like I said, if we receive an occupancy permit, we try to license businesses in as quickly as we can. There have been times when we license businesses and we're not able to license businesses in, especially in the case of a short-term lease business where you're in, and by the time we find out that by the time we have your occupancy permit, the business has already been vacated, and so we were not able to license you and assess the business accordingly. It's just this time around for 2020, we received the occupancy permit and we were aware of the business that we licensed the businesses in.
But Madam Assessor, with all due respect, you think there would be some dialogue with us before the assessment notice came with no inspection or of the space to warrant a 20,000 square foot ARV on space that we weren't using?
Again,
Could I just maybe interject here if we can get some clarification on space? What did your occupancy permit say, Mr. Keats?
Well, it shows clearly the fixtures and the 12,000 square feet that we occupy with all of our stands. That's part of the occupancy permit process, is you submit a floor plan of your store, which is what we did in both St. James and on Narren Avenue.
Well, and for the purposes of this hearing, there's no evidence on the occupancy permit from either party. The only evidence is the lease.
Well, Madame Assessor keeps referring to the occupancy permit. It's in the occupancy permit. So the information's there, they had it, but it wasn't contemplated when they did their ARV and the space we're using.
Well, I don't think she can answer that because I assume, Victoria, that you did not license this one in?
no, I did not.
Okay, I think that concludes this discussions on the particular property. Mr. Keats, you have a summation?
Yeah. So, and I apologize for sounding like a whining broken record, but it is 2021 and it's been a pretty difficult year. Yes, after 11 seasons of doing Spirit of Halloween and paying lots of corporate tax, occupancy permit fees, sign permit fees, retail tax, after 11 years in the worst pandemic we've seen in a century, we get assessed on the 23rd of October. It was a bit of a blindside. And obviously, I have a huge issue with the concept of annual rental value. If I'm a salesman and I stay at the Fairmont for 3 nights during the course of a year and I'm submitting my payroll expenses, it's like, what was your annual payment at the Fairmont? It was $200 a night. It's $600 annually. Even though it's only 3 nights, that's what we're using it for. So that's my contention, is that we're only using it for a shortened period of time. And
well, unfortunately, this is all under provincial legislation.
And I realize that, and I'm all about paying my fair share, but the legislation, and we've had this discussion over the last 4 or 5 years, every time I come before the board, it doesn't contemplate either market values quick enough, nor the duration at this point in time. And yes, after 11 years, I get assessed. It was a bit of a blindside. So my contention is the ARV, and that's where I get to exhibit 1A. Is, yeah, my contention is I'm paying in 2 of the situations under the 37,500 threshold. It should be exempt from business tax. And exhibit 234 shows the 2021.
If I can just clarify on your submission that you've highlighted, under that program, the small business tax credit, it's clear there that you have to pay for a full year. In your case, you didn't. So the threshold wouldn't apply.
But that's what I paid for the whole year, even though it was 2 months. It was still $30,000 for 2 months. That's my annual rent.
But you only get the credit if you're there for the whole year. Neither did the assessor or the board create the small business tax credit.
And then exhibit 234 is a little circled item there, 340- vacant premises. So yeah, they're vacant premises, yet I'm still getting a 2021 business assessment notice. I'm extremely confused.
You would have received a supplementary assessment notice stating that you've been vacated for 2020. It will be issued as a 14-2.
So why did I get a 2021 business assessment if I've vacated the premises?
You should have received a supplementary assessment notice stating as an assessor advice, stating that you've been vacated from this premises for 2021. My last comment is I'm just pure disbelief at how this city treats business people and how disorganized it is. It's just not fair.
Thank you for your comments. Victoria, any summation?
No, thank you.
Okay, that concludes the hearing for today. Thank you, everyone. You'll receive our decisions in due course.